It happened today. Bernie Sanders has dropped out of the Democratic primary. It was something that was looking like it was becoming more inevitable in recent weeks, but not guaranteed. And it happening is going to seriously hurt no matter what. If you've been on this ride throughout this election, through the last one, the years in between, if you've been following what Bernie Sanders has worked to accomplish, what he's advocated tirelessly for, all of the people that he's inspired, the household names that we now rely on for any semblance of hope, many of whom their entire careers can be traced back initially to the inspiration provided to them by Bernie Sanders, this is a devastating day. And, it sort of works out, though, that it is a day where we're joined by Emma Vigeland. Emma, I kind of need you here on this day because it happened again. They were successful in stopping him.
Yeah, well, we were going to time when I began to cry in the live stream. It's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think
if you're going to, this is the reason to.
It's fine. This is who I am, and I am accepting of who I am. Mm-hmm. So, look, I think what stings most is we really thought it could happen this time. The elation that I felt after Nevada being there, right?
Yeah.
And I left Las Vegas up money. I won a bunch of bets. Like, it was like everything was going right.
Yeah.
And then to have it all come crashing down in this foul swoop of Buttigieg, Klobuchar dropping out, Beto O'Rourke coming out of nowhere to endorse Joe Biden, simultaneously kind of laughing at that while also being scared. And then South Carolina, there was this whoosh. And then I'm in Vermont at Sanders headquarters, and everything just seems to keep falling apart. The results seem to be getting worse and worse. The California results were not as decisive as we thought they'd be. And they did it again. They really did. And, I saw Trump tweeting about it, celebrating, talking about how the DNC, is crooked, and Elizabeth Warren, should have dropped out sooner to endorse Bernie Sanders, just kind of echoing some of the things that progressive activists have been saying. And that's part of why I think Trump is so politically potent, is he's able to take kernels of truth that undermine the political system and help him, even if it's not the whole truth,
yeah,
and use it to his advantage. And he's certainly going to use the second shivving of the progressive base, the second destruction of Bernie Sanders, in his own favor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, con man, scam artists, they always ground it in some kind of truth. I mean, if they're going to get you to buy and then drink snake oil that kills you, they need to at least give you some reason to believe that it could be scientifically sound. So I'm not surprised that he does that. And I also, I don't, like, if he says something designed to aid himself and it contains a kernel of truth, honestly, I don't care. Like, I'm not interested in him trying to twist people to advocate. It's like the story of American politics, in part, is people supporting things that go directly against their own interests, economic and otherwise. And he is just the latest page in that book, effectively.
But let me quickly add, though, he did this in 2016, first event I ever covered in person for one of the major candidates. I went to an event at Trump Tower, and he was talking about how the DNC rigged it against Bernie Sanders and all of that stuff. It's extremely effective, and it's another brick in the wall that he's building to stop Joe Biden. I really do think that this part will really help Trump.
Well, let's go to a bit of Bernie Sanders. I, like many people, hundreds of thousands, were watching his live address, and here is a bit of what he had to say today.
I wish I could give you better news, but I think you know the truth. And that is that we are now some 300 delegates behind Vice President Biden, and the path toward victory is virtually impossible. So while we are winning the ideological battle, and while we are winning the support of so many young people and working people throughout the country, I have concluded that this battle for the Democratic nomination will not be successful. And so today, I am announcing the suspension of my campaign. Please know that I do not make this decision lightly. In fact, it has been a very difficult and painful decision.
That was, I mean, look, he reiterated all of the top things that he's been fighting for. If you've, been to Bernie events, if you've listened to his stump speech, he was still very much on message, and that will not change. The only thing that changes, obviously, is, at least in the short term, his chance of becoming president, and that has ripple effects that could not be any bigger. And I mean, I know I posted an Instagram post about this, and someone responded and said, I need you to give me hope. And look, I hope to be able to do that, but probably not today. Like, I could fake it and pretend that I'm just invigorated. That's all I am right now. But that's not what I am. That's not in the top 5 of what I am right now. I'm hurt. I'm incredibly disappointed. I'm incredibly worried, scared, and anxious over what this means for the general election and what that means for our country if Trump gets reelected. I can't be one of those people that, like, occasionally raises up climate change as a thing that I supposedly care about and then ignore it 99% of the time. It is always in the back of my mind, and I know how little time we have to do something about this, and the prospect of Trump becoming president for 4 more years absolutely terrifies me when I think about the long-term ramifications for our climate. I mean, just so much of it, it's all simultaneously hitting me. And even, like, Emma, like, we obviously, we think about these things and the consequences all the time, and yet, like, these are the sorts of crystallizing moments where it all becomes so clear.
Yeah, and part of what you say there, climate change specifically, is why I will vote for Joe Biden in the general. I don't say that with glee. I don't say that enthusiastically, but I say that as someone who cares about the planet and knows that whatever half-awake Biden implements will be better than what Trump does. But I have serious doubts that Biden can carry the ball over the goal line, as Cory Booker said when talking about his mental acuity. So if that's the kind of enthusiasm that is being generated from the base, when you have people like me saying that they'll begrudgingly vote for this person, and in fact, Hillary Clinton probably, I would say, had more enthusiasm than Joe Biden.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. And that's scary. And Trump has an incumbency advantage. Trump is a president in the middle of a crisis he's in large part created and bungled this crisis. But we saw in 2004 that doesn't necessarily matter if you have an uninspiring centrist who's running against that candidate.
Yeah.
And on top of it, Biden can't talk. And on top of it, I don't think he has any message. And so we have an uphill battle here. And I will also say that another discouraging thing about Joe Biden is that he is even more, I think, hostile to the left than even Hillary Clinton was. She was pretty open about it. But Biden, his entire career, has almost fetishized working with the other side and making Republicans happy. Hillary Clinton at least kind of hated Republicans because they hated her on a personal level. Yeah. It didn't really have to do with the fact that, it didn't have to do with the fact that she policy-wise was closer. But Biden has never implemented a leftist policy in his life. And I don't see him being even ceremonially accepting of any of the leftist proposals that Bernie Sanders and his supporters are espousing, because even though the party has changed so dramatically in 4 years, Biden had refused to. So what does that say about him as how he would lead?
Yeah, it's an interesting debate to have. Who was more opposed to progressives? I mean, I guess technically Biden at least says he supports some of the policies that Hillary was still rejecting in 2016 when running against Bernie. But yeah, she doesn't have necessarily the documented history of opposition to it. And again, definitely the fetishizing of bipartisanship. And also the fetishizing of the mythical past. Like, we rightfully attack, I think, Republicans for, like, pining for an America that never existed back in the 1950s.
Right.
But, like, Biden is pining for a 1980s and 1990s that either never existed or was terrible at the time. So yeah. Now look, I pulled something earlier today to potentially terrify you, and we will see. So in terms of what effect this might have on the general election, so if it is in fact Biden, which it looks like, barring shenanigans at the convention, it looks like it will be. So let's talk about what effect the current situation is having on Donald Trump and perceptions of him. So 55% of Americans said the federal government has done a poor job preventing the spread of novel coronavirus, sometimes referred to as COVID-19 in the US, versus 41% who said the government is doing a good job. Now, back in on March 29th, a slim plurality said the government was doing a good job. So that represents a 15-point swing in net approval in the wrong direction from Trump's point of view in just a week, which might lead you to believe, oh, it looks like maybe this will be a factor that hurts Donald Trump. Here's the thing. What do people think about who they want to be a leader in a time like this? We'll take a look at these two results. So I'm going to go to it in one sec, but I want to hold off to not spoil. When asked between having Obama and Trump, people say Obama 52%, Trump 38%. When it's Biden versus Trump, yeah, it's an 8-point swing for Biden there. Yeah, they're looking at what Trump is doing, the daily misinformation, the promoting a drug for his own financial interest and the interest of the people around him, even if people end up dying of heart arrhythmias and things like that as a result of it. Attacking governors for requesting the aid that they need. Just waiting months before doing literally anything. And they look at that, and they look at what they've seen from Joe Biden, and they say, yeah, I'm going to stick with Trump on this. And if coronavirus is the story of the 2020 election, and how could it possibly not be, and they support him over Biden, how is Biden supposed to win?
Well, okay, so Biden's whole campaign hinges on the predication that he's going to return things to normal, right? But when we're in such abnormal times, people want someone who's going to strongly steer them in a specific direction. And Biden is not projecting strength right now because he can't talk. Are we not, like, I know it's hard to say and it's sad, but Biden is unable to communicate with the American people during this crisis in an effective manner. He's not saying anything. And all of his criticisms of Trump are process or speed related. Like, I would have done this better, or I would have done this more quickly. It's not, no, Trump is doing an incompetent job from the get-go, and this is how I'm different. This is my distinct vision for the American public, and that's what presents strength, what projects strength. And Biden being unable to do that, being completely invisible in that area, even though he's trying a little bit harder on these morning shows, but failing in many regards, is a huge problem in a crisis. Because Trump, even though he's lying through his teeth, even though he's made this problem way worse than it needed to be, it was always going to be bad, but Trump has exacerbated things. And I think the American people are so lost in it, they're unable to see that scale. But he's at least communicating with the American public in a confident manner, and they see him on TV every day. And so that's part of the thing that's helping him, his arrogant bluster, while Biden is not really making any sense. Yeah, people are going to pull the plug and go for Trump in that area because he's more visible and stronger in his speech.
Yeah, I just am, like, all I feel is dread for what's going to come. And just knowing that, like the people who have been, like, boosting Biden, like, I wish that I could stuff them full of the drug that supposedly makes you tell the truth and, like, ask them, like, do you really think that he has the best chance? You're saying you're confident. You're saying that he's the person that can beat him. Do you actually believe it? Maybe some do. Maybe some are deluded. And it's not to say that it's impossible, but the idea that he's the best person to put up against him, and almost universally, these are the people that say Trump has to lose. I've been advocating for that, and I've been honest about it. And so I've been advocating for the person that I think actually has the best chance, and that person just dropped out today.
I think those are the same kinds of people who follow a winner, right? The same kinds of people that are just like, I think led emotionally by candidates. If they're being successful, they think that candidate's going to be Trump, and they never would have imagined that Bernie Sanders would be able to do so. I think something we need to talk about more is how basically ill-prepared the Democratic electorate is in the current way it's incentivized to nominate a candidate that will be effective in the general election. and how behind the times the party is in incentivizing that kind of candidate to come through, how much it squelches populism and pushes forward corporatists that may have a significant appeal to the Democratic electorate that has been built, but one that doesn't play in the general election.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.